Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are diving into something truly fascinating. So dim the lights and grab your notebooks because today's Explainer is going to function as a dark, academic masterclass on one of the most terrifying yet subtly brilliant literary devices in all of dark fiction. We're looking at the anatomy of an archetype. Specifically, we're studying Shax. He's a figure originating from ancient grimoires, and we're going to explore exactly how his unique mythology serves as the ultimate blueprint for writing psychological horror, gaslighting narratives, and tales of stolen senses. All right, let's dive right into this. The dove arrived before the theft. I really want you to just sit with that chilling quote from our source text for a second. When we think of a horror antagonist, our baseline assumption is usually something grotesque, right? Something violent or physically imposing. We expect fangs, we expect shadows, we expect an army at the gates. But what if the ultimate threat looks like innocence itself? What if the monster arrives as a symbol of absolute peace, right before it takes everything from you? So, here is our syllabus for today's lecture. 1. The anatomy of shocks. 2. Symbols of false peace. 3. The theft of perception. 4. Subtlety versus brutal violence. And 5. Writing psychological thrillers. Starting with part 1, the anatomy of Shax. Let's look at his origins. To ground our analysis, we're pulling from traditional grimoire folklore, specifically the old catalogues of the Ars Goetia. Shax, who is sometimes written as Shaz or Scox, is the 44th spirit. He holds the impressive rank of Great Marquis, commands 30 legions, and strangely enough, he appears as a stock dove. And please, hold your applause for the pigeon magic. It's a weird visual, but it matters. His core domains are theft, deception, stolen senses, hidden things, horses, and this really agonizing concept of delayed return. Now, I want to be crystal clear here. For the purpose of this explainer, we are treating Shax strictly as a literary and historical figure. We're looking at him as a symbolic engine for dark fiction, not some literal entity. We want to understand how his specific traits can be used to craft an absolutely unforgettable antagonist. This profile illustrates his true narrative function. He operates simultaneously as a thief, a deceiver, a quiet bird that casually enters a palace window, and ultimately a profound warning. Because his domains rule over stolen senses and hidden things, he is the ultimate archetype for the false messenger. He's the voice that steals truth by sounding almost completely trustworthy. He shows us that truth can actually be stolen long before wealth or power ever disappear. Moving on to part 2, symbols of false peace. This is all about corrupting innocence. Consider the predatory meaning behind his core symbols. The stock dove usually symbolizes peace, innocence, maybe even divine messages. But Shax corrupts that into a false peace. It's a disguised intrusion where a soft, gentle appearance completely hides a predatory intent. He's a harmless-looking bird whose shadow falls over royal vaults, which makes him incredibly useful for stories dealing with propaganda, forged omens, and cursed messengers. And then there's his voice. Honestly, this is perhaps his most insidious tool. His voice is described as hoarse but subtle. Think about the terrifying psychology of that for a minute. It's rough enough to sound damaged or wounded, which naturally elicits our empathy, yet it is clever enough to conceal profound danger right behind that softness. So the crucial point here is that his speech is purposely designed to bypass our natural defenses. It builds unearned trust. He isn't yelling threats at you. He's whispering manipulations that sound humble but cut incredibly deeply. Part 3. The theft of perception. How he steals the truth. So how exactly do you stop a crime if you literally can't even trust your own eyes? Shax is so frightening because his theft begins way before anyone even notices an object is gone. He steals perception first. He steals sight, which results in blindness, deliberate misdirection, and the total loss of the witness. He steals hearing, leading to miscommunication and ignored warnings, meaning testimony is literally removed from the world. Most chillingly, though, he steals understanding. This is the ultimate form of gaslighting. We're talking broken judgment, minds robbed before the vaults are ever even touched. And finally, he provides false answers, where knowledge is contaminated by lies and prophecies absolutely must be doubted. A victim who cannot perceive the meaning of events becomes effortlessly easy to command. But as with all great literary archetypes, there's a built-in vulnerability. His power depends entirely on uncertainty. He makes people doubt what they saw, what they heard, what they understood, or what they promised. Therefore, clear testimony and shared memory actively weaken his influence. For all the writers out there watching, this provides you with the exact thematic tool you need to defeat a Shax-like antagonist in your narrative. It's the unbreakable power of shared objective truth. All right, part 4, subtlety versus brutal violence. Let's talk psychological warfare. In the broader Goetic tradition, Shax belongs to a darker line of figures who attack order by undermining trust. Compare him to other traditional spirits for a second, like Sabnock and Ram. As the source material notes, Sabnock turns fear into architecture. He fortifies physical bodies and builds up cities. Ram carries tangible treasures out of ruined cities. They both represent physical, brutal ruin. But Shax makes reality itself unreliable. His theft is deeply intimate. The subtle breakdown of trust within a royal court is almost always far more dangerous than an army laying siege to the palace walls. Because, well, a wall cannot protect a kingdom if the guards cannot trust their own senses, right? An armory cannot defend a ruler if the historical records themselves lie. This line captures his essence perfectly. Shax represents the thief as a manipulator. He is not the burglar who breaks the lock, but the whisper that convinces the guard there was never a door, actually stealing the very concept of the door. I mean, that is the ultimate form of psychological horror. Finally, part 5, writing psychological thrillers. How do we apply this archetype? Let's synthesize these concepts into some actual actionable plot hooks for crafting occult noir, political fantasy, or even mysteries. We have The Dove in the Vault, where a palace treasury is completely emptied overnight, but every single guard insists they only heard a bird singing in the rafters. We have The Blind Witness, where the only witness to a gruesome murder actually keeps their eyesight, but mysteriously loses the cognitive ability to understand human faces. There's The False Messenger, where a dove delivers perfect prophecies that somehow always lead the listeners toward the wrong moral choice. And The Missing Sound, where a city wakes up totally unable to hear bells, warnings, or confessions, while thieves just move openly through the streets. And this brilliantly illustrates the conflict engine of Shax. His gifts create mysteries where the problem isn't finding evidence, but proving the evidence still means anything at all. Consider this sequence. Step 1, empty the vault. Step 2, leave the locks entirely unbroken, untouched, and the ledgers fully balanced. And step 3, and this is a very specific, agonizing aspect of Shax mythology, the delayed return. Just imagine a stolen royal coin returning centuries later with fresh blood on its edge and a map hidden inside. His theft is not only lost, but loss stretched completely beyond usefulness. Justice arrives entirely too late to save anyone. Which leads us to this haunting promise left behind by this type of villain. What is stolen will return when return no longer matters. It just lingers on the profound tragedy of knowledge that has been contaminated by lies and by time. Treasure returned too late isn't a victory anymore. It becomes a joke. It becomes a curse, or even an accusation against history itself. I want to leave you with this final Socratic question to ponder for your own stories and your own characters. If truth is stolen before the crime is seen, who can prove the theft ever happened? It really leaves us questioning the fragility of objective truth, doesn't it? And it highlights the profound danger of a villain who attacks not our physical bodies, but our very perception of reality. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on the anatomy of an archetype. I really hope this sparked some dark, brilliant ideas for your next thriller. Keep analyzing, keep writing, and I will see you in the next one.